Okay, we are going to solve quadratic equations, and we're going to use our calculator today to do so. We need to first remember what an x-intercept is, and it's just the point where the graph crosses the x-axis. Because that's what we're going to focus on today, finding the x-intercepts. Remember, an x-intercept is also called a zero or a root. Number one, find the zeros for each function graphed below. So number one is just a linear equation. And the zero, remember, it has to cross the x-axis. So if I follow this, here is where it crossed. That is -6. So -6, 0. And number two, I have a quadratic. And it crosses twice. It crosses here at 1, 0. And then again over here at -4, 0. So when we're talking about a quadratic, we often have two solutions. Number three, find the roots. Remember, roots are the same thing as x-intercept for each quadratic function using your calculator, which just means we're going to go to our calculator and we're going to type this in, and then we'll probably use menu 5-1 to help us find our solutions. Let's go to the calculator. Go into a graph page. We type in x squared minus 4. And I can see my solutions, my zeros. It's 2 and -2. But again, if we press menu 5-1 and we scroll, it will tell us the 0 is 2, 0. And we scroll to the left, and it will tell us that it's -2, 0. So I'm going to write those down. My zeros are 2, 0, and -2, 0. And sometimes they're written as a list, which is your little squiggle brackets, as -2, 2. Remember, that's just writing a list of answers. Number 4, same thing. We're just going to go to a graph page. So Control Dot gets you a new graph page. We're going to type in x squared plus 10x plus 16. And again, if we press menu 5-1, we can scroll to our 0. So our 0 here is -2, 0. And then if we keep going to the left, our other 0 is -8, 0. Okay? So let's go ahead and write those both down. We have -2, 0 and -8, 0, which sometimes you could see it like this: x equals -2 and x equals -8. All of these are different ways to see your solutions. All right, on numbers 5 and 6, it says find the solution to the quadratic function, which means we need to look and see what are we trying to find the solution to. And it says it equals 0. So when something equals 0, that's your y value. Every time we found the 0 on x-intercept, my y value was 0. So what are you trying to find in numbers 5 and 6? Well, you're still trying to find the zeros, because your equation equals 0. So we're going to do the same thing we did in 3 and 4, but we're going to type just this part into the calculator. So let's go back to a graph page, Control Doc number 2, and we're going to type in x squared plus x. And we can see both of our zeros there. Again, menu 5-1 will give us the order pairs. And when you press menu 5-1, it always starts you on the y-intercept. If you scroll right and scroll left, it will now tell you that that's the 0. The y-intercept and the 0 for this one are the same. So my zeros is 0, 0, And if I scroll to the left, my other 0 is -1, 0. So I wrote those both down. On number 6, since the equation equals 0, that means we are finding the zeros, and we're going to type just this part into the graph page. So Control Doc, and we're going to type in 2x squared minus 6x minus 8. And we can see both of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, and -1. But again, menu 5, 1. And look, it starts you down here at the y-intercept. So if I scroll left, I see my x-intercept is -1. And if I scroll right, it takes me back to the other one, which is 4, 0. Okay, so write both those down. I wrote them a different way this time. But when we get down to number 7, it says, these ones also say find the solution, but number 7 looks a little bit different because it does not equal 0, it equals 6. So what are we trying to find in number 7? We're trying to find the solution when y equals 6. In order to do that, if your equation does not equal 0, you have to move the number over to make your equation equal 0. So what we're going to do is make our equations equal 0. In order to move a positive 6 over, we need to subtract it, so -6 on both sides. There's nothing to subtract it from. We're going to keep this really simple today. Just move it over. So we have x squared plus x minus 6 equals 0, because 6 minus 6 is 0. Now you can type this part into the calculator and find your zeros. So Control Doc, number 2, we're going to type in x squared plus x minus 6. And here my zeros are 2, 0, and -3, 0. Again, menu 5, 1, 2, 0. Scroll to the left, we get -3, 0. Okay, so here my answers are -3 and 2. Or we could have said -3, 0 and 2, 0. All right, number 8, same thing. If it does not equal 0, you have to move it over to make it equal 0. And if I have a positive 64, I would move it over by subtracting 64. So -64 on both sides. And I'm not even going to figure out what it subtracts to. I'm just going to rewrite the equation and then put -64 at the end. So now it equals 0. So again, let's go to a graph page, and we're going to type in the equation 4 parentheses x minus 3 squared minus 64, and enter. And now we're looking for the zeros. So -1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. -1 and 7. So -1, 0 and 7, 0. Okay. All right, you try number 9. Remember, we're just typing that part in. And then you try number 10, and this one has 6, so you're going to have to move it over. Okay, on number 9, the correct answer, if we typed it in, x squared plus 2x minus 3, the correct answer was +1 and -3. So x equals 1 and x equals -3. On number 10, remember you have to move the 6 over. So we're going to -6 on both sides. So I have 2x squared plus x minus 6. and now it equals 0. So we're going to type just this part in. So control doc number 2, we have 2x squared plus x minus 6. And my answer is here. Well, now I get a decimal. So if I press menu 5-1, I can see that this side is -2, but the right side is 1.5. So x equals -2 and x equals 1.5. All right, if we go to the back of your paper, it's just some questions that you could, these are star questions that we've seen before. Example A, choose the correct vertex form of an equation with a vertex of -6, 2 that goes to the point -4, 3. Well, they just told you that the vertex was -6, 2. And so I got to figure out which of these goes through and has that vertex. So that's the first thing I'm going to check. And then we're going to see which one has this point. So we're going to go to our graph page and we're going to start typing in the answer choices. So example A, here's answer choice A. I have -1/4 times x plus 4 squared plus 3. And again, I'm going to focus on which one has the correct vertex. So my vertex here is a maximum, and it's -4, -3, which means A is not my answer. Okay. Then let's go to a new graph page and type in answer choice B, which is 1/4 times x minus 6 squared plus 2. Menu 5-1, and I'm looking for my vertex. And I'm having a hard time seeing it. It's not actually going to tell me what it is here, so I am going to zoom out one time. Okay, then push escape and back to menu 5-1. Okay, so here my vertex is 6, 2, which is not what I want. So that means B is not my correct answer. Let's go to a new graph page, and we're going to type in 1/4 times x plus 6 squared plus 2. Okay, menu 5-1. My vertex is -6, 2, which is what I want. Now does it go through the point -4, 3? So I'm just going to scroll back to the right, and it doesn't give me -4, but remember, if I type in -4, it does say -4, 3, which means C has to be my answer. Okay, we're going to skip this extra stuff for right now. Example B. This is just a graph and match. Which one is equivalent? So you're going to type in this equation, push tab, and type in your answer choices to find the one that matches. And then example C, at which points does a graph intersect the x-axis? So you're just finding the zero. So you're going to type this in and then look and see which one, where does it cross?